Hello, English speakers. Welcome to another hour of classes on verbling.com, the world's most amazing super website for language learners. It's like a superhero among websites for language learners, giving you the opportunity to use your English and improve your English. My name is Geoff Watson. I am very happy to be part of the English teaching team here at verbling.com, and we have lots of work to do this hour. We have lots of things to do, to review, some materials that I have found on the National Public Radio website, which is a public broadcaster, NPR. It is a public broadcaster in the United States. First of all, I would like to ask people to please access the link that I have put in the Verbling chat box. This link will take you directly to the document that I have prepared. This hour we have an article to read, then we have a radio broadcast to listen to with the transcript. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to focus on understanding real English content. And thanks to verbling.com, I'm here to help you with whatever questions you have. First of all, after downloading the document, I would also like to show people that in all of the verbling.com classes, it's very important that you keep your microphone muted or turned off like this. And we ask you to please turn on and off your microphone when you're participating in the class. And that's all we need to do for this hour. So join the class when you can. We are going to start with reading, and then we are going to go to the listening part of the class. And so I'm going to bring the document up onto the screen. The document is called CD9, and this hour we are going to be talking about babies and how they can understand and react to voices while they are sleeping. Some very important information for parents or for those people who take care of little babies and small children. And so I'm going to bring the document up onto the screen because we have lots of reading to do this hour. And hello, Ermilo, how are you?
I'm very well. How do you hear me? Is my connection good right now?
Yes, it's fine. Yes, we can hear you clearly. So, Ermilo, could you please start reading our article?
Oh, yeah, of course. Shh. The kids can hear you arguing, even when they're asleep.
Okay, great.
By Shankar Bentham.
And this is a recent article from April 29th. So what I would like to talk about is just arguing. That's the pronunciation, arguing. Now, in English, yeah, an argument is always essentially negative. It's two people fighting with words. An argument in English is really, well, not always, but as it's used in everyday conversation, An argument is something negative. And so what we're talking about is children can hear people arguing even when they're asleep. Could you continue, please, Ermilo?
Yeah. Even during sleep, babies' brains continue to take in and process angry voices. For years now, psychologists have been telling couples who yell at one another to stop for the sake of the kids. Such conflict in the home, even when not violence is involved, is associated with a host of negative behavioral and life outcomes for children.
Okay, and I'll get you to stop there. Thank you. The only word I'll help you with is host, with an O sound. Host. All right. Now
Host.
this is a real English article, and so what are we talking about here? Could somebody repeat the information that Ermilo has read for us? I would like to start the article with everybody clearly understanding what we're talking about.
Couples who are
Yes,
yelling
Selma?
at each
Hello.
yes, teacher. Hello, teacher. Couples who are yelling at each others is considered as the bad behavior, and this thing will have an effect on babies during their sleep.
Yes, absolutely. So even when the baby is asleep, that has a negative effect on young children. So yelling at one another is essentially having an argument. Okay? Do you understand the expression, people, to stop for the sake of the kids? This expression, maybe I'll just highlight this, for the sake of the kids, for the sake of the children. What does that mean?
Teacher. For his own property, like?
For, well, the sake. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the way you worded that.
For his own property or benefit?
Benefit, absolutely, yeah. Now, for the sake of the children, you're going to stop arguing for the well-being of the children, for, if that makes sense. Sorry, help me out, people. Do you understand this concept? I think Selma understands it, but I'm really hoping that as we read through this article, I would like all of you, please, to focus on just understanding, but I'm here to help you with vocabulary questions, grammar questions, anything like that. But if you can tell me what you understand, then I know that I'm communicating things clearly to you. So just turn on your microphone and say, Geoff, I have a comment.
Can we say
Yes,
for the welfare?
Can
we say for the welfare?
Yeah, for the child's welfare. Good, yes. Excellent. Yeah, for their well-being, for the sake of the children, for their welfare. Okay, just for their general positive state. Okay, all right, great. And so this is the situation, that even when no violence is involved, arguing and fighting and yelling on verbally.com. Okay, so let's continue here. And so if I'm going to move on to the next section of text for people to read. And so I would like to go with Laura. Hello, Laura.
Now, hello.
Yes.
I don't speak English. I speak like I.
That's okay.
I am so looking.
Yes. Okay, but please help us with reading. I will help you with the pronunciation. Website. Sorry, Hebra. opportunity to Hebra.
Yes, I'm listening.
Hebra, I'm sorry, you need to keep your microphone turned off for us, and you have an echo in the background. Please close the Verbling window.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. You may need to use headphones as well. So, Laura, could you please read the text that you see on the screen?
My gosh, I don't understand.
Yes. So, yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. I will come back
I'm
to
sorry.
speak to you later. No problem. No problem. And so I'll go on to Lucas. Hello, Lucas.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
Welcome. I'm fine. Could you please read the text that's on
Of
the
course.
screen?
Yes. Some start of research have gone so far as to suggest that dissolving a marriage made it better for kids than exposing them to high level of conflict between a bad marriage.
Please continue.
Follow.
The next
Yeah.
paragraph.
Still, the effect of parental conflict don't appear to be experienced equally by all children. Some kids do badly when exposed to conflict, others seem to cope much better.
Okay, so we're talking about being exposed. Just let me help you with the pronunciation.
Okay.
Exposed and within. All right, and so first of all, here we are talking about the fact that even during sleep, here is the sleeping baby here, that even during sleep, babies' brains, they react to hearing angry voices. And so if parents are arguing and yelling at another, this will have a direct effect on the baby. And psychologists feel that it has a negative effect on babies. Right? Now, what is the information here? Can people ask me about the vocabulary that they're not sure of here? What is the article telling us here? Can someone turn on their microphone and help explain this?
To divorce is better than to have conflict when the baby is sleeping.
Good. So we're talking about children and babies and children. And as you said, some people feel that it may be better, or some research, scientific research has indicated that it may be better to end a marriage with divorce, or at least with separation, than expose children to high levels of conflict within a bad marriage. Okay, that's the idea. So well done, Selma. Okay, and so people are welcome to give their opinions as well. If something that you find is interesting, or if you have an opinion about the article, people can turn on their microphones and share that. And what is the information here?
I cannot understand the word stands.
Yes, okay. Sorry, which word, Hermilo?
In the earlier paragraph, some strands.
Yes.
The word strands.
Okay, good. No, this is not a common use of the word strands. It means some research can go in different directions, they can investigate a different path. That's what we're talking about. So different strands, different paths of research. But thank you.
Can we say like another branch of the investigation?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great word. Excellent. So some branches. This would be a great synonym, a word that has the same meaning. Excellent. Okay, thank you for your question, Ermilo. That was excellent. So let's move on to the blue paragraph here. What is the article telling us here? And I will help you. So someone can turn on their microphone.
Can I?
Mine? Hello, Mine.
Hello. I think if I understood right, this paragraph, every children has a different reaction. Some children that has a different experience than the other.
Mm-hmm. And what does it mean to cope? This is a good word in English to know. What does it mean to cope with something?
To adjust?
Yes, to adjust to it. Good. To handle it. To tolerate it. To adapt to something is to cope with something. So, in other words, just as Mine said, the children react differently. Some do badly. Some react with very negative consequences, and other children seem to adjust or become used to it. They cope with it much better than the other children. Okay, good. So not all children react the same way. I'm just going to move this forward so that we can read this. And what I'd like to do is, I'll go to, sorry, Mine, could you read this, please?
Okay. Recently, researchers at the University of Oregon decided to try to get a handle on this variability. Is it possible, they asked, that experiences early in life might sculpt the brain in ways that shape the children's response to conflict later in life?
Good. All right. The child's response.
Yes.
No, that's fine. And so what was the question that the researchers at the University of Oregon wanted to answer?
They asked this question: Is this affected the latest life, like adulthood life, or
Good, right? And to affect what?
They can how they handled this experience in their future life.
Right. So I'm going to highlight it here. So could someone else please explain the text in blue here? Someone else, if they can turn on their microphone, or I want to. Yes, Selma.
Here we are talking about two variables: the child response and the conflict in their life. So how would these conflicts have an effect, or how can children react to such conflicts in their life?
When though? And I just first of all, thank you so much for staying with this. I know this is hard work, but let's work on it together. It's just this is an important question in terms of the article. So everyone can have a turn at explaining this. It's good practice for your English. So again, what's happening first and what's happening second? What are the researchers trying to understand? And people can try again for a second time.
Okay, the first thing they try to understand how affect the childhood memory in your later lifestyle. It's like a conflict is the right word, I think so. How can they conflict?
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, So we have the two ideas here. So they want to know about experiences in early life.
Yes.
So that happens first, and that
Yeah.
might sculpt or shape the brains in ways that change what?
Change
Change the
the
behavior.
responsibility.
Yes, the child's behavior. And what's kind of behavior specifically?
Hostile?
Well, not necessarily. We're not necessarily talking about the child being hostile.
The behavior and the adult age.
Well, later in life, but okay, so not necessarily adults, but of course, being an adult would be later in life. But this is their response to conflict. How do they respond to conflict? So is that clearer? I don't know. Is that what you were trying to tell me before?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So the researchers want to know if babies are exposed to conflict, their parents arguing and fighting and yelling at each other, will that change their brains so that later in life they will respond differently to conflict? They will respond differently in situations where there is conflict. Okay?
Then they will start argue or fight each other.
Oh, maybe.
This is the point.
Yeah. Oh no, but not necessarily though, because maybe they will react by withdrawing.
I see.
Yeah.
And then
so
previous paragraph they said every children has a different reaction.
Now, but to being exposed to hearing their parents fighting and yelling at each other.
No, this is the paragraph. Still, the effects of parental conflict do not appear to experience equal by all children.
Yes,
Even though the parents has a conflict or argue all the time at the house,
yes,
it is not affect the children in their later life. They have a same situation.
Or in the same way, though.
In the same way. Yes.
Now and so now the researchers are wanting to ask, will it affect the child in later life? Is there a lasting change in the brain that takes place if children are exposed to conflict, and if they react badly to it, will that affect their reaction to conflictive situations later in life? Okay.
Can we say? Can we
Great.
say probably in? Can we say probably in a conflict situation of this child later in his life would be to hide his head like an ostrich?
Okay. Now, but that might be one reaction. Yes. And so, will the child hide their head like an ostrich? Yeah. Will they withdraw or avoid the situation of conflict, or will they react with a lot of aggression and anger? So this is what the scientists want to see. What's going to be the child's reaction to conflict later in life? And
the baby
will
can
that
react
be
in
changed?
different ways.
Yeah,
Different
will that
ways.
be changed if they're exposed to hearing conflict as a baby?
So, teacher, you are
Yes,
saying
Selma.
that they are going to do the experience on adults, not on children.
Yeah, okay, let's find out. Let's find out what more about the study, about the research. Thank you. But that's a great point. That's a great point.
This can be, for example, when an adult, we say he has a trauma of his childhood.
Yes, an emotional trauma from something that happened in their childhood. Exactly. And so now, first of all, I don't remember, I don't ever want students to just believe the articles, but I'm here to help you understand the article, and then you can choose to believe it or not and express those opinions. So please, yeah, let's just look at understanding the article first, and then you can talk about it. Selma, could you read this for us, please?
Okay, teacher. Psychologists Alice Graham, Philip Fisher, and Jennifer Pfeiffer decided to take a look at what happens inside the brains of infants when they hear conflicts and angry voices. The approach was straightforward: use a non-invasive brain scanning technique known as fMRI to scan the brains of infants and identify in real time which areas of the brain are activated by angry voices.
Okay, great. All right, so this sounds like very basic sort of research, just looking at how the brain functions. And so I just wanted to help you with non-invasive procedure or technique.
Non-invasive.
Yeah, and so what are they going to do?
They are using the fMRI technique to scan
Yes.
the brain of the infant.
Okay, and at what time? At what point?
When the brain is intact.
I'm sorry, when the brain is intact?
Yes, in fact.
No, sorry, I don't understand that last word.
They use to scan the brain of infants and identify in the real time. Yeah, infants.
Okay.
Okay.
Infants. Okay.
Infants.
Yeah. All right. And so I I have a picture which looks terrible, but I don't know if this is the. I have no idea that this is similar to the equipment that they used, but they're going to scan. They're going to scan the brains of the babies, and so here is the baby being held still, and then they're going to go into the MRI. Now I don't know. Again, I don't I don't want to say that that this is what they're doing, but with these pictures, I'm just finding these pictures on Google Image. But could somebody please continue to describe the experiment? They're going to scan the baby's brains. They're going to monitor to see what happens. But when?
The area brain have activated and activated by angry voices.
Okay, all right. So this is what they wanted to study. They wanted to study what happens in a baby's brain when it hears angry voices. This is, I guess, the basic question. So they use this completely non-invasive procedure, so nothing happens to the baby, and they monitor what happens in the brain when the babies hear angry voices. Okay.
But it is not true because if MRI, they have some radiation.
No, my understanding is the M in an MRI stands for magnetic, and so there is no radiation on an MRI. It's magnetic resonance imaging, and so it's not a CAT scan, it's an MRI. So my understanding is that's completely safe. But thank you for your comment. All right, and so let's keep going. I'd like to say hello to Aguinaldo.
Hello, teacher. I'm here.
Yes, welcome. Could you please read this for us?
When I there was one problem. This brain scans required the infant to lie really still for an extended period of time in a noise scanner. The odds of the happening close to zero. That's unless. May I go on?
Yes, please.
That is, unless the psychologist reasoned the infants were asleep. Was it possible that even during sleep the brain continued to take in the process in the voice? In a study, okay.
Sorry, yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. And process angry voices. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what was the problem that the researchers had?
The babies were asleep.
Well, no, that wasn't the problem, Selma. Not that was maybe the solution, I guess. But thank you for your comment. What was the problem? It's in the first paragraph.
And the skin has a noise, a lot of noise, I think.
Yes, yeah, it's a banging noise. I
Yeah.
understand. It's bang, 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 like this. So the machine, the MRI machine, which is this, it's like a big, it's a huge, incredibly powerful magnet that's in the shape of a donut, and the person has to go inside the donut or inside the tube. A magnetron is maybe is what the name of it is. Now, this is very noisy. All right, and what's the other problem? The machine is very noisy. What else?
I think that if the machine is very noisy, the babies can awake.
Oh, well,
They
all
can-
right. Yeah. Now, that's not there. That could be a problem. That's not discussed here, but that's very logical, Ermilo. Thank you.
I'm not quite understand, but the answer should be the odds of that happening close to zero.
Yes, but what?
What does mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure
okay.
out.
Well, sorry, I'm trying not to ask anything complicated. So there was a problem. What did these scientists want to do? Let's go back here. What did the scientists want to do? I know there's a lot of information here, but just simply put, what did they want to do?
To test how the brains work in angry voice.
Yes, how the brains reacted and worked when the babies were exposed or listening to angry voices. Okay, so they wanted to use this fMRI technique. Okay, all right, but then what's the problem?
I think MRI voice noises and anger noise is mixed up, and maybe the child they cannot figure out which noise is which one.
Okay, so sorry, that's not the problem that they talk about in the article. I've highlighted it in blue.
Yes.
One of the problems.
They must make the infant lie for an extended period of time.
Yes, really still. To lie really still means not to move at all.
Oh.
So they need the babies to be motionless for an extended period of time in a noisy machine. So what are the chances of that happening?
But teacher, in the previous picture, the infant was tied. So what's the problem?
Now again, these pictures are not from the article.
Ah.
But I don't think it's not ethical for scientists to tie up the baby so it can't move. So I guess tying the baby up so it can't move, that's not an option. The parents won't let them do that. All right, so they want to scan the baby's brains, but they need the babies to lie really still for a long time in a noisy machine. So the only opportunity to do that is if the infants were asleep. This is what they thought. Okay? So let's find out if what happened worked, or like Ermilo said, the babies just woke up and started moving.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yes.
What does the sentence mean? The odd, I couldn't see the
Yeah,
whole
odds. The odds.
Okay.
I know odds
Can I say?
mean, but
okay.
I want to know the
Yeah.
whole sentence, what they try to tell us in this
Okay.
sentence. Yeah.
Can I explain,
Can I-
teacher?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Close
Sorry.
to zero.
Yeah.
Go
Close
ahead,
to zero.
Selma.
Close to zero. As I know, it means there is no how can I say, there is no noise, zero noise.
Zero noise.
Yes.
No, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No.
I'm sorry, Selma. Ermilo?
Yeah. Yeah. I think if we change the word odds for the word possibilities,
Yes.
the possibilities of that happening close to zero. So there is not possibility the child can be completely still because they are moving, they are awoke.
Yeah. So so what we're talking about here, Ermilo has said it well. So the chances of having an awake baby lie perfectly still for long periods of time in a noisy machine, that's almost zero. So the chances of that happening, the probability of that happening, the odds of that happening are close to zero.
Okay, got it now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, awesome. And that's a great phrase in English. This is why I recommend that students try the extra effort of reading real English, because the odds of that happening are close to zero. I would use this phrase in a conversation any day. It's quite a common phrase. Mm-hmm. All right.
You can use a whole sentence, or it's
Yeah.
like one phrase to other. It's the difference.
That whole sentence in yellow.
Okay.
If we're talking about something that's very unlikely, I would say, come on, the odds of that happening are close to zero.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's find out if they were able to do their studies.
Can we say, for example, if we see the day is a sunny day, in this case, we can say this sentence: the odds for raining is close to zero.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great. So, Emily, hello. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, hi, Emily. Could you please read this paragraph for us?
Okay. In a study published in Psychological Science that is at least as remarkable for its methodology as for its result, the researchers had a couple of dozen infants forced into a brain scanning lab at bedtime.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
First, the parent rocked the infants to sleep. Then
Graham
and her colleagues carefully placed the sleeping children inside the brain scanner. Via a pair of headphones, they piped in voice saying nonsense sentences such as I.
Now, sorry, this is a nonsense sentence. So the scientists, yeah, but it means that this is not correct English. So the researchers decided to use imaginary words that do not exist. So could you please continue with the voices?
Okay. The voice spoke in different tones: angry, neutral, and happy.
Okay. All right. So what happened? What did they do?
They put the infant.
Yeah.
They
Sorry,
put the infant.
Selma. Yeah.
They put the infant inside the brain scanner,
Okay,
and
but first, what did they do?
They made the parents. They made the infant sleep.
Yeah, the parents rocked. The parents rocked the babies to sleep. Okay, good. So then we have the sleeping baby. Now what do we do? If you want to continue, Selma, go ahead.
We put them inside the brain scanner,
Okay.
and which contains a lot of headphones, and they start saying weird sentences, so that they can, in different voices, angry, neutral, and happy, so that they can test the reaction of the infants.
Yeah, and they're taking pictures, essentially, of the brains of the children while they listen to sentences, and all the babies are being exposed to are people speaking in different tones of voice. So this is a good phrase in English where you say, watch the tone of your voice. So you sound angry, or someone has a neutral tone or a happy tone to their voice. Any questions?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah.
What I cannot understand is the age of the infant. They didn't say what is exactly the age.
Yeah, infants in English, these are little babies. So I would say that an infant is from 0 to 8 months old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Something like that. So these are definitely babies. These are not young children. So let's say up to a year, but I would say less, from 0 to 8 months. All right, so let's find out what their results were. And if we can go to the next person, Gabriela, hello. Gabriela, are you there? Vargas? Okay, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. You may need to turn on your microphone. Ermilo, could you read this for us, please?
Yeah, of course. Graham, a doctoral student at the school, said the most surprising thing was not that the brains of infants responded differently to the different tones, which suggests
Perfect.
Suggests that the brain is more than capable of taking in information while a child is asleep, but that there were stark differences among the children.
Okay. All right. So this is a little difficult to understand, but this is one of the researchers, a doctoral student, Graham. And so what was the most surprising result? What was the most surprising thing they discovered?
They discover it's not important how do you tone, they use it.
Okay. Now, sorry. Can we keep working on this? Sorry, Mimi.
Okay.
But you know, again, and remember, everyone is doing a wonderful job. And if you're understanding some vocabulary, this is great. But this is some very specific information. So let's keep working on it, because yeah, the process of understanding will help you learn to understand real English. This is what I'm hoping will happen. I would like to take scans of your brains right now as you're understanding this.
They discover when the child is asleep, they have a difference between the other children.
Oh, okay. So what was the most surprising thing about what they found?
That there were stark differences among the children.
Okay. So it wasn't that babies reacted differently to the different tones of voice, okay, and that they were able to take in information while they were sleeping. This is not surprising to the scientists. Okay, now do we understand? So the brains.
Can you tell me one more time?
Yeah. So the brains of the infants responded differently to the different tones. That's not surprising. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, or it was not surprising, it was predictable that the baby's brains reacted differently to hearing happy tones, neutral tones, and angry tones. And it wasn't surprising that the baby's brains were able to take in that information while the child was sleeping. That wasn't surprising either. But what was surprising was the big differences. This is stark, very obvious big differences that there were among the children.
But they already tell us these things previous paragraph. Every children has a different reaction.
Every child reacts differently, but what they talked about was their behavior, the way their behavior changes. But this is the first time that they were actually able to measure the way that their brains were reacting.
Got it. Last question. What does mean stark in this sentence?
Stark means very big, very obvious, easy to see.
Okay.
Yeah, very clear. And so remember we looked at a couple of dozen infants. So 24 infants, a couple of dozen babies. And so, yes, their brains were able to respond differently to the different tones. And yes, their brains were able to take in information and process information while the children were sleeping. But it was really surprising that there was a huge difference between the children. All right. So let's find out which children reacted differently. So Lucas, could you read this paragraph for us?
Okay. Infants who come from home with lots of conflict, where the parents yelled at one another and called each other a explicit name, showing a heightened activation in certain areas of the brain.
Please continue. Yeah.
Okay. What we see for the infant in higher conflict homes is that they are showing greater reactivity to the very angry tone of voice. Braham says, and that reactivity is in brain regions that we think are important later on in terms of your ability to regulate your emotion and function well.
Okay. All right. And so some pretty serious results here. So which babies reacted differently from the others? I just wanted to help you with yelled. Yelled is the pronunciation.
Okay.
And heightened activation. Okay. So what were the results?
Babies coming from noisy places responds in a high way other than the other babies.
Yes, so they reacted more than the other babies. Infants who came from homes where the parents argued a lot, yelling at each other, yelling at one another, and calling each other names, unpleasant names. Okay, if you can understand the vocabulary here. So parents that fought at home, argued and fought a lot. They reacted more than the other babies. And specifically, where did they see this reaction?
Yeah. Can we scroll back a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Paragraph? Of course. Yeah.
And can we say the children? Where is it? Scroll it back a little bit more. I don't see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will try to find it in
yeah. Okay. No, thank you, Hermilo. Just let me know when I can help you. So, and then where in the baby's brains did they react? Where was this activity, this brain activity?
In certain areas of the brain?
Yes, and which areas of the brain?
They think this area, the brain region, that are important later terms, their ability.
Yeah, later on in life, essentially.
Yeah, later in life.
And so what is the responsibility or what is the function of this part of the brain? What does it do for you?
They regulate emotional and functional.
Yeah, so it regulates your emotions and helps you to function well. I guess, you know, in society.
Yeah, maybe that is the effect. If you have a conflict in your earliest age, it's affect your regulation, your emotional, the later life.
It maybe affects your ability to regulate your emotions and function well in society.
Okay, Jeff, I got it.
Hermilo?
I got the question I want to ask you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
About, the infants responded differently to the different tones, right?
Yes.
So, but we can say that the infants do not how can we say are not affected by the tone, but by the information they hear.
Ah, good. Well, no, but that's great. Excellent. But remember, the sentences were nonsense sentences. So that eliminated the information part of it. The sentences that were played into the headphones for the babies were complete nonsense. I pulimented a Mopar. That doesn't make sense at all. And so the only content in the sentences were the tone of voice.
Yeah. So these different tones do not affect the infants, but the information when they hear the parents are yelling one to each other.
You mean in the home?
With different words. How can say?
In the home, they are hearing words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The words they are hearing and at home.
All right.
The parents use when they are yelling.
Yes, at each other. Okay, when they're yelling at each other. But I guess what the researchers wanted to prove was that remember the babies are reacting to the tone of the voice. In the laboratory, the babies are not exposed to the words. They are reacting to the tone of the voice. And so, and again, I think we're talking about little infants. So will little infants understand what the parents are saying? I'm assuming not, because they're very young. You know, we're talking about 6-month-old babies. But I understand your point, but I think the scientists are showing that it's the tone of voice that the infants are reacting to.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for your point. Let's see if we can do a little more reading. And so, sorry, I think it's Mine. Is it your turn?
Yeah, I think so. The scientists acknowledge that it is not immediately clear what the findings mean. If the infants from high-conflict homes are especially reactive to angry voices, this could be consistent with the studies that have found that conflict in the homes is psychologically damaging for children. On the other hand, it is also possible that the heightened activation is connected with the way the brain develops resilience. The brain activation might point to the possibility that the infants were learning to deal with high conflict. The only way to find out would be... Okay.
I'm just going to stop you because this is very important. And so after reading all of this, what are the two possibilities? What's the first possibility? Because the two ideas are separated with, on the other hand, which is very common in an expression, in a conversation. So they state one point, and then they separate it with, well, but on the other hand. So what's the first idea, the first possibility?
The first things they find that if they have a conflict environment in the home, they also it affects
psychologically damaging.
Psychologically damage for the children.
Damaging, psychologically damaging. Okay, to be in a conflictive home, into a home where there's a lot of conflict. All right, so that's option number one. Okay, but on the other hand, what's option number two?
But also the brain can contrary working, and they can resist the resilience is handle it possibility and deal with the conflict.
Yeah, so we're talking about the brain developing resilience. Do people understand the word resilience? It's a good word to learn, to be resilient.
No.
Yeah, people can translate that word. It means that the babies are strong, resilient, that they can cope with being exposed to conflict. And to be resilient means that you continue to function, that something doesn't make you stop. To be resilient means to be strong and to be able to continue despite what's happening. So those are the two possibilities.
It can be happening anything, and the baby continue without any affection.
Yes, because the babies learn how to deal with high conflict. So then, as you, or I think it was, sorry, Selma said, let's read this last bit here. Selma?
The only way to find out would be to follow such children over time and see what happens to them. Graham says the study is just a first step toward understanding the role of early influences in how children come to process conflict.
Okay, great. So I need to end very quickly here, but the only way to decide how the babies are affected is to follow them as they develop and grow older and see how their behavior changes.
Yes.
All right, great. But
But
remember,
we cannot
yeah,
come up the come up the result. Like if you have a conflict environment when you are in fact, this is affect in your future life.
a conflictive environment, yes. No, but the one thing that we know for sure is that sleeping babies hear you.
Yes.
and they react to the tone of the voice. Now, as Ermilo said, it's not the content of the words that you're saying, because they eliminated that from the study. Babies react to you speaking, even when they're sleeping, hearing happy voices, hearing neutral voices, and hearing angry voices. And so be careful.
Yeah.
They are listening to you, even when they're sleeping. Yeah. I have to go. I'm teaching again right away. Great work, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you can listen to the podcast for homework and read the transcript. Good work, everybody. Talk to you soon.